When you're a kid, the economy seems incredibly simple to fix. If the government wants to help people, why don't they just fire up the printing presses and make everyone rich? Money is just a measuring stick for value. If you stretch that stick by printing money, units lose their meaning. We naturally value things based on scarcity. Air is everywhere, so it's free. A block of gold is rare, which is why people prize it. This same logic applies to the cash in your wallet. The moment a currency loses its limits and becomes infinitely abundant, it immediately stops working as money. Flooding the system with endless stacks of bills effectively snaps our measuring stick, making it impossible to trade fairly or trust the numbers we see on a price tag. History shows us exactly what happens when a government tries to pay its bills by running the money printers around the clock. It triggers a devastating cycle called hyperinflation. Because the supply of money is multiplying so quickly, the price of everyday goods begins to surge, changing daily or even hourly. Look at Zimbabwe in the 2000s. The government printed money so recklessly that numbers lost all meaning. To buy a few basic groceries, citizens literally needed bills printed with $100 trillion on them. Buying and selling grinds to a halt. In Venezuela, completing a simple grocery run required carrying towering stacks of cash just to pay for a single chicken. The money was losing its value so fast that merchants had to continuously calculate new prices while customers were standing in line. And any savings you have simply vanish. In Germany in 1923, people who had diligently saved thousands of marks found themselves entirely broke a few months later, needing banknotes worth billions just to buy a loaf of bread. Without the strict boundary of scarcity, money completely breaks down. You can't price things, you can't trade easily, and you can't save for tomorrow. Citizens are eventually forced to abandon the currency altogether just to survive. Seeing that destruction, it's tempting to jump to the exact opposite solution. Why not permanently freeze the amount of money in the world so it never grows at all? Because perfect scarcity creates a totally different crisis: deflation. If an economy is growing and producing more goods, but the amount of money is strictly locked, the price of everything starts to drop. Falling prices might sound great until you look at how human beings actually behave. If you know a new car will be 5% cheaper next month, you wait. Everyone waits. People stop spending today because their cash will buy more tomorrow. When consumers stop buying, businesses lose their income. To survive, those businesses halt their expansions and lay off workers. And because wages are dropping, but older debts stay exactly the same size, families find it mathematically impossible to pay off their mortgages or loans. We saw this downward spiral during the Great Depression in the 1930s. Falling prices stalled the entire economy, crushing businesses and leaving millions standing in unemployment lines. While printing infinite money destroys the value of our currency, locking it into perfect scarcity strangles human enterprise and growth that money is supposed to support. This leaves us with a tricky balancing act. We absolutely need money to be scarce so it holds its value, but we also need the money supply to grow just enough so businesses can secure loans, build new factories, and hire more people. The modern solution to this tightrope walk is something called managed scarcity. Today, central banking institutions carefully control how many dollars exist in the system. Looking at this gauge shows their exact goal. They want to avoid 0%, which risks that dangerous deflation freeze, but they also strictly avoid the hot red zones of high inflation. Instead, economists target a very specific sweet spot, 2 to 3% inflation per year. This gentle expansion makes it easier for a local shop to get the loans they need to hire a new clerk, while keeping prices steady enough that your paycheck still buys what you need at the checkout counter. This is a massive departure from older setups like the gold standard, where every dollar had to be backed by physical metal in a vault. While gold provided strict, unbending scarcity, the supply was so inflexible that it frequently choked off economic growth. Central banks aim for that slow, predictable price increase to keep the wheels of the economy turning and protect us from the disaster of a total freeze. Money is a social invention built entirely on limits and trust. If you strip away the scarcity, it becomes worthless paper. But when we carefully manage that scarcity, money becomes the reliable tool that allows our entire society to build, trade, and grow.